How my wife turned our marriage into a corporate performance review and accidentally destroyed it. I'm Jonas, 34M, and I fix things for a living. Broken furnaces, faulty thermostats, radiators that cough like old smokers. I always believed anything could be repaired with enough patience and the right tools. But I was wrong. Some things don't break all at once. They erode in silence, right under your hands. My marriage was one of them. I don't know when exactly Mira and I started losing each other. People like to imagine marriages collapse in dramatic crescendos. Shouting matches, slammed doors, someone leaving with a suitcase. But the truth is quieter. Most endings start as a whisper. In the beginning, everything was easy. Not Hollywood easy. More like the small, ordinary kind of easy that makes life feel like a warm room on a cold morning. We laughed a lot. Mira teased me for organizing my tools by type and color like I was building a museum exhibit. I teased her for leaving half-drunk tea mugs on every flat surface like she was breadcrumbing her thoughts across the apartment. Our first place was a glorified shoebox, but it felt enormous because every corner had a piece of us in it. Our jokes, our cooking disasters, the glow of lamps we couldn't afford but bought anyway. We went on long drives with nowhere to go. We talked about dreams so unrealistic they felt like warm lies, but good lies, the kind couples tell when they still believe time is generous. I didn't notice the shift at first. No one ever does. It started small, too small to register as danger. A little less laughter, a little more silence. Conversations that used to wander for hours shrinking into logistical bullet points. Did you grab the mail? Dentist appointment Tuesday. We're out of rice. She'd come home more tired, more distant, and I tell myself it was just work. Her consulting job was brutal. She managed difficult people with inflated titles and fragile egos. She worked late, attended workshops, spent weekends doing professional development. I thought she needed space, rest, quiet, so I gave her that. What I didn't realize was that I was also giving away pieces of our connection in tiny increments, like handing out coins without noticing the pile getting smaller. One night, this would have been about a year before everything crashed. She came home late again. I was sitting at the table eating leftovers. She dropped her bag by the door and walked past me like I was part of the furniture. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual. Long day. She paused. Not dramatically, just a half beat longer than a normal pause. She murmured. Yeah, just tired. No kiss, no hug, not even eye contact. I wanted to ask more, to ask if something happened, if she was okay. But she was already walking toward the bedroom. Rubbing her temples like any question from me was another task she wasn't ready for. I sat there staring at the leftover lasagna like it could tell me what to do. Maybe I should have followed her. Maybe I should have pressed harder. But you don't go from, "Are you okay?" to "Talk to me, please," overnight. You ease into silence the same way you ease into cold water. Slowly, numbly, telling yourself you'll adjust. We still had good days. But even the good days had a different texture. Like the sunlight was passing through something thin between us. Intimacy used to be one of the best parts of our marriage. Not just sex, but closeness, touch. The casual kind people don't talk about because it seems too trivial to matter. Brushing fingers while passing each other in the kitchen. Hugging while waiting for the kettle to boil. Kissing without timing it like a scheduled event. Then it started fading. First she was just tired. Then stressed. Then not in the mood. Then work has drained me. Then nothing. Silence. One night, after 3 weeks without a single kiss longer than half a second, I tried initiating something more. I wasn't pushy. I touched her back gently while we were lying in bed. She froze. Her muscles literally stiffened like I'd startled her. Jonas. Not tonight, she whispered. Okay, I said, pulling my hand away. Sorry. It's fine, she said automatically. But it didn't feel fine. You can take rejection once, twice, maybe even 10 times if you're determined and patient. But eventually it chips at you, carving out small hollows you don't want to admit are forming. I didn't complain. That's not who I am. I've never been good at saying, I need you. I wasn't raised that way. So instead of talking, I started compensating. I did more chores, cooked more dinners, took over the errands she hated. Thought if I fixed enough things around us, maybe the thing between us would fix itself. But affection doesn't return as a thank you. And marriages don't heal by osmosis. If I had to pinpoint when I truly started feeling like a ghost, it was when Myra's phone began absorbing her entire attention. We'd be on the couch watching something we used to enjoy together, and she'd scroll TikTok or Instagram or some relationship influencer who spoke in corporate jargon disguised as emotional insight. I'd ask a question about the show and she'd respond with a distracted, huh. That meant she didn't hear a word. Sometimes she'd laugh at something on her screen. A bright, spontaneous laugh she hadn't made at anything I said in months. And I'd feel the stab of jealousy toward a rectangle of glowing glass. She started quoting these influencers too, saying things like, I feel like I'm doing all the emotional labor. You need to take more initiative in the relationship. Healthy couples communicate expectations clearly. I wanted to tell her that I had been trying, for months, but every time I approached her, she treated my attempts like a budget meeting she didn't have time to attend. Still, I tried. One night I made dinner her favorite, or at least it used to be. When she came home, she barely looked at it. You should have told me, she said. I already ordered something with my team. Oh, I said. That's okay. I can save it. I'm not saying it to hurt you, she sighed. But sometimes you don't think things through. It was such a small thing, such a tiny dismissal, but it lodged deep. She used to be grateful when I cooked. She used to kiss me on the cheek and say I made her day easier. Now she acted like I'd inconvenienced her by caring. I reached my breaking point one Sunday evening. Not a dramatic breaking point. Just a quiet realization that I couldn't keep pretending nothing was wrong. We were both home, sitting 3 feet apart on the couch but might as well have been continents away. Mira, I said softly, can we talk for a minute? She didn't look up from her phone. About what? About us, I said. My voice cracked. I feel like something's off. She finally set the phone down, but the expression she gave me wasn't concern. It was annoyance. like I'd interrupted something more important. What do you mean? She asked. I feel like we're drifting. We don't talk the way we used to. We don't. I hesitated. Connect the way we used to. She inhaled slowly, as though preparing a very measured response. Well, she said, I'm glad you're finally aware there's an issue. That word, finally, landed like a slap, even though her tone was calm. I've been carrying the emotional weight of this relationship for a long time, she continued. I need you to step up, and I'm not trying to be harsh, Jonas, but the spark doesn't happen by magic. You have to earn intimacy. Earn it, like a wage, like I was behind on payments. What do you want me to do? I asked quietly. I need you to do the work, she said. It sounded rehearsed. To show me you're committed to improving our connection. I am committed, I said. I've been trying. Trying isn't the same as doing. Something in me recoiled. Not because she was angry, she wasn't, but because she looked at me with this clinical detachment, like a therapist observing a patient, or a manager evaluating a performance review. My heart dropped into my stomach. I love you, I said. I miss you. I want us back. She blinked, slow and unreadable. Well, she said, then it's time to prove it. 3 weeks later, after more tension, more silence, more phone screens between us, Mira walked into the living room with a single sheet of paper in her hand. Jonas, she said, I made something that I think will really help us. She placed the paper on the table between us, smoothing it with her palm. Think of this as a framework, she said, a tool to rebuild connection. At the top, in bold serif font, were 6 words that made my heart go cold. Relationship Performance Protocol, RPP. My name was listed under Participant 1, hers under Supervisor, and beneath that, rules, metrics, expected tasks, required outputs, daily deliverables, weekly quotas, KPIs for intimacy. Even before I read the details, I felt something inside me sag like a broken beam. She wasn't trying to reconnect. She was trying to manage the marriage. And me, I picked up the paper. I started reading, and I swear, as I scanned each item, I could feel my heartbeat turning quieter, like it was backing away from my ribs. The paper felt heavier than it should have. Just one sheet, not a binder, not a workbook, but it might as well have been a legal decree. My hands actually shook a little while I held it. Not dramatically, not visibly, but the tremor was there under the skin, like my body already understood something my mind wasn't ready to accept. I read the first section. Section A, Domestic Responsibilities. Daily post-meal kitchen sanitation. 100% compliance required. Verification photo recommended. Weekly bathroom deep cleaning, including grout. Laundry must be done within 48 hours of being placed in the hamper. Monthly home systems audit. Furnace, plumbing, appliances. There were bullet points, sub-bullet points, asterisks for clarification notes. My throat tightened. This was not a list of chores. This was a job description. My eyes moved down the page. Section B, Emotional Engagement Metrics. 3, unique and meaningful compliments per day. Compliments focused on physical appearance count for less than compliments regarding intellect, capability, or emotional growth. 1, proactive emotional check-in per week lasting no less than 30 minutes. Active listening required. No interruptions. Follow-up reflections encouraged. I skimmed the wording twice, then a third time. Meaningful compliments. Emotional check-ins with time requirements. Follow-up reflections. It sounded like a therapy worksheet written by someone who had never been to therapy. My chest felt hollow. Section C, Romance and Affection Quotas. Weekly plan date night. All logistical burden, planning, transportation, reservations, falls on participant 1. 1 spontaneous gift every 2 weeks minimum. Gift must reflect thoughtfulness and awareness of supervisor's needs. Intimacy is unlocked after 7 consecutive days of full compliance. Under that, a footnote. Failure to meet any single metric restarts the 7-day progression period. I stared at that last line for a long time, not because I was offended, but because I was stunned. Intimacy, the thing that once came naturally, effortlessly, beautifully, was now something I could unlock like a feature in an app I'd stopped subscribing to. There was no anger yet, no sadness, just a thudding sense of quiet disbelief. I set the paper down gently. Mira was watching me with this eager, hopeful expression, like she had just solved a puzzle and was excited to see my relief. Well, she asked softly, what do you think? I swallowed. What is this? I finally asked. It's a structure, she said, a framework to help us get back on track. Clear expectations, clear responsibilities, clear rewards. I think this could change everything. Rewards. That word echoed like a drop tool on concrete. And you made this? I asked. She nodded proudly. I've been studying relationship models. Everything says that clarity is the foundation of emotional intimacy. I need you to know what I expect. This way, you can meet those expectations consistently. I see, I said quietly. I didn't. Not fully. Not yet. But part of me, the part that still believed we could fix us, wanted to try. Wanted to believe she didn't mean this as punishment. Wanted to believe this was her way of saying I still care. So I nodded. Okay, I said. If this is what you need, I'll follow it. Her face lit up with relief. Actual relief. Thank you, she whispered. I know this is different, but this is how we rebuild. And because I still loved her, deeply, stupidly, painfully, I believed her. I really did. The next morning I started. I set 3 alarms. 1 for morning chores. 1 for compliment reminders. 1 for the emotional check-in I scheduled in my head. I made coffee. I unloaded the dishwasher. I packed her bag for work. I complimented her blouse, her organizational skills, her insight about a meeting she mentioned last week. Everything was precise, measured, correct. She seemed pleased. That was the word. Not touched, not warm, Just pleasantly surprised the way someone is when a coworker hands in paperwork early. On day 2, I took photos of the kitchen after cleaning it, just in case she wanted verification. I didn't send them, but the act of taking them felt like submitting evidence in a case I wasn't sure I supported. On day 3, I planned our date night. Fancy place. Ridiculously expensive. The kind of restaurant people post on Instagram to prove things are going well. The dinner itself was awkward in a way that hurt quietly. Mira talked about work. I listened. I nodded. I asked follow-up questions. I complimented her insights. But something was missing. Something alive. Something warm. Something unpredictable. I felt like a man playing a version of himself. I didn't reach for her hand. She didn't reach for mine. At the end of the night, I drove home with one hand on the wheel and the other resting in my lap. Empty. On day 5, I did a spontaneous gesture, flowers, the kind she liked. She smiled. She actually smiled. And for a moment, I felt a spark of something hopeful. Maybe this would work. Maybe structure could bridge the distance. Maybe love could be built like a schedule. But on day 6, everything cracked a little. It was evening. We were in the living room. She was scrolling her phone, and I was completing the last of my daily tasks. I wiped down the counters, loaded the dishwasher, set the thermostat for the night, time-stamped a few chores mentally. Then I walked into the room with my final compliment. Mira, I said gently, I appreciate how dedicated you are to your self-growth. It inspires me. She didn't smile. She didn't blush. She didn't soften. Instead, she narrowed her eyes slightly. Why are you saying it like that? She asked. Like what? I replied. Like you're reading from a script. I blinked. I'm not, I said. I mean it. She tilted her head, studying me. It feels mechanical, she said. Like you're just checking a box. A quiet, painful irony settled between us. I was checking a box, because she gave me boxes to check. Mira, I said softly. You asked me to follow the protocol. I'm trying. I'm doing exactly what you asked. Yes, but, she said quickly. I want you to want to do it. Not just do it. Something shifted in me. A tiny click, like a lock sliding into place. It was the realization that no matter how perfectly I followed the list, the goalposts would always move. She wanted authenticity on command, spontaneity on a schedule, passion with timestamps, love expressed exactly as instructed, but only if it still felt natural. It was impossible. Not hard. Not challenging. Impossible. But I didn't say any of that. I just nodded and said, I'll try, because at that point I still believed trying mattered. According to the protocol, day 7 was supposed to be a milestone. Full compliance meant intimacy was unlocked. I hate that word, but I clung to the idea like someone holding a rope in the dark. Maybe this would bring us back. Maybe this would open a door we both forgot how to use. That night I made dinner. I cleaned. I complimented her. I listened. I scheduled. I submitted myself to the system she created. At 10:14 p.m., she looked at me with a soft, almost shy expression. The first I'd seen in months. So, she said, it's been 7 days. My heart actually jumped. Maybe we still had something. Maybe we weren't broken yet. Maybe this whole thing could be a weird, painful, misguided path back to each other. I stood up, walked over, touched her cheek gently. She leaned in, and then whispered, almost breathless. Did you write the emotional reflections for the check-in last Thursday? The sentence landed like a crack across my ribs. I pulled back slightly. No, I said quietly. I didn't know that was mandatory. It's in the notes at the bottom, she said, her tone shifting into something cold. Reflections must be written and shared within 24 hours. My stomach dropped. I can write them now, I said. It's supposed to be timely, she said. If you can't follow the structure, Jonas, then you're not taking this seriously. And if you're not taking this seriously, I can't open up to you. The intimacy window closed, just like that, because of a missed footnote. I felt something inside me break so quietly that even I almost missed it. A small tear, a quiet rip, a thread coming loose. Not anger, not sadness, just a sharp, bright emptiness. I nodded. Okay, I whispered. You're right. And I walked away. Her last words of the night were, we'll try again next week. After the failed 7th day, the intimacy unlock, that died over a missing paragraph. Something inside me didn't break so much as dislodge, like a piece of furniture that had been sliding millimeter by millimeter across a hardwood floor until suddenly you realize it's no longer where it used to be. I didn't stop loving Mira. I didn't stop wanting us to work. But something essential shifted, and I couldn't push it back into place. What I felt wasn't anger. It was the quietest version of disappointment, the kind that settles in the bones. I kept following the protocol through week 2, because at that point a part of me was desperate to prove that the failure wasn't mine. If the system failed again, and deep down I already knew it would, then at least I couldn't be blamed. I wasn't performing for her anymore. I was collecting evidence for myself. Week 2, the system becomes the marriage. There's a strange thing that happens when someone dictates how you must love them. Your affection slowly becomes a performance. Your presence becomes a task. Your touch becomes a deliverable. I woke up every morning not as a husband but as an employee clocking into a job I didn't remember applying for. The alarms were still set. 6:15 morning chores. 11:30 midday compliment. 1800 hours household audit. 2100 hours reflection reminder. I followed them all. But the difference now was tone. The first week I had tried with genuine effort. The second week I delivered with clinical precision. If weeks had flavors, week 1 was burnt caramel. Week 2 was distilled water. I gave compliments like, you managed your meeting load very efficiently today. I appreciate your strategic approach to problem solving. Your dinner choice tonight shows mindful nutritional planning. Accurate, compliant, emotionless. At first she tolerated it. Then she started looking unsettled. On Wednesday, while I was wiping the stove, she approached me cautiously. Jonas, can we talk for a minute? I turned off the burner knob and faced her. Yes, I said. How can I help? I didn't mean it sarcastically, but the words, even to me, sounded like something a customer service rep says during a troubleshooting call. She bit her lip. You're different. I'm following the protocol, I said. Yes, but you're doing it like a machine. I nodded once. Machines are consistent. Her face twitched. Do you hear how cold that sounds? Do you hear how cold the protocol is? I asked softly. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I worked really hard on that, she said, defensive now. It's meant to guide us back to each other. It's guiding us, I said quietly. Just not back the way you think. She looked confused, but she didn't push further. Not yet. When you live with someone who used to touch you in passing, hand on your back, fingers brushing your arm, a spontaneous kiss on the shoulder, the absence of touch becomes its own kind of noise. She used to reach for me without thinking. Now she didn't even bump into me accidentally. Sometimes when I stretched out my hand on the couch cushion next to me, I could remember perfectly the weight of hers sliding into my palm. It felt like remembering warmth while standing in a cold room. That phantom warmth is torture. But intimacy still hung in the air like a reward I was almost eligible for. Maybe this week, she'd say. The subtle implication. You are close. Keep performing. Earn it. Felt less like marriage and more like probation. But I kept going. Not because I believed in the protocol. Because I believed in the woman I married before the protocol. It was Friday evening when things finally cracked. I had just finished preparing dinner, grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, the kind of meal she'd once kissed me for making. We sat down to eat. She seemed in an okay mood. Not joyful, but lighter than usual. Halfway through the meal, she asked, "So what compliment do I get tonight?" She said it jokingly, but there was an undertone, a subtle, expectant tension. I swallowed my food slowly. "Would you prefer it now?" I asked. "Or after dinner?" Her fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Jonas, seriously? I'm following the schedule," I said. "That's the problem," she snapped suddenly. The sound startled even her. She set the fork down. "You're doing everything on the list, but you're not trying." I took a breath. "I do everything you ask," I said. "I complete every metric. I hit every requirement. I show up every day." "Show up?" She cut in. "You call this showing up? This is bare minimum emotion dressed up as effort." I stared at her for a long moment. Then quietly, "Mira, earlier when you said you wanted a compliment, you said it like a prompt." She flinched. "I didn't mean. What do you want from me?" I asked, not angrily, just tired. "You want structure, but you want spontaneity. You want predictable effort, but unpredictable warmth. You want affection I can't give you because you're asking for it like a report." "I'm asking for what I deserve," she said. "And I'm asking for my wife back," I whispered. She fell silent. The rest of the dinner was eaten in a cold, brittle quiet. That night, she went to bed early. I stayed on the couch for a long time, staring at the blank TV screen, feeling like I was slowly dissolving from the inside out. Loneliness inside a marriage is different from regular loneliness. Regular loneliness is quiet, cold, bearable. Marital loneliness is suffocating. It's lying next to someone whose back has become a wall. It's wanting to reach out but being afraid of the rejection you already know is coming. That night, I pulled my blanket over myself on the couch and waited to feel tired enough to shut down. The house creaked. Cars outside hummed past. The dishwasher cycled. And I realized I couldn't remember the last time she touched me without flinching. Not even accidentally. Not even in passing. Something inside me hollowed out further. If love was a flame, ours was now an ember buried under ash. Faint, smoldering, requiring just a hint of oxygen. But the protocol wasn't oxygen. It was a fire extinguisher. By week 3, Myra's annoyance turned into confusion. Then concern. Then fear. Not fear of me. Fear of losing control. She began hovering around me when I did chores, as if supervising. She tried inserting herself into the protocol, making suggestions, refining steps. She asked if I could make compliments less formal, emotional check-ins more heartfelt, and chores less robotic. The irony was that she didn't realize she was describing the very humanity her protocol had strangled. One evening, after I finished cleaning the stove, she approached me slowly. "I miss you," she whispered. For a moment. Just a moment. My heart jumped. But then she added, "But I need you to follow through, consistently, if we're going to rebuild trust." Rebuild trust. As if I had been the one who broke it. As if my quiet yearning, my patience, my hurt were evidence of unreliability. I nodded. "I am following through," I said. "But you're not present," she said softly. "You're doing everything, without emotion." "Mira," I said. "You wrote the emotions out." She stepped back like I'd struck her. That's not fair. But it was. It was the fairest thing I'd said in months. The moment things truly shifted, when the denial began to crumble, happened on a Saturday morning. I was scrubbing grout in the bathroom, gloves on, brush in hand. The harsh smell of cleaner filled the room. My knees were aching from kneeling. I was doing everything perfectly. By the book. By her book. Mira walked in holding her phone, dressed in gym clothes. She watched me for a few seconds, silent. Then she said, softly, "Jonas, look at me." I turned over my shoulder. Her expression was raw. Not angry, not smug, not managerial, just scared. "You're not you," she said. "Not even a little." I turned back to the grout line, brushing slowly. "I'm following the protocol," I said. "No," she said, voice cracking. "You're following a script. You're not with me anymore." I set the brush down. Then I said a sentence that I didn't know was inside me until it came out. "Mira, I haven't felt like you've been with me in a long time." Her breath hitched. She sank onto the toilet lid, elbows on knees, head in her hands. "I was trying," she whispered. "I was trying to fix us." "I know," I said. "But you weren't fixing us. You were managing me." She sobbed. Not loud, dramatic sobs. Quiet, small ones. The kind people make when they realize they've miscalculated the cost of something important. I sat beside her on the floor, gloves still on, the cleaner burning my throat. We didn't touch. We didn't hug. We didn't fix anything. We just sat in the quiet, painful truth that something between us had shifted so far off-center that we couldn't find it anymore. After the bathroom breakdown, something shifted, not back toward us, but away from the fantasy that we could return to what we once were. There was no dramatic line drawn in the sand. No screaming match. No singular betrayal. Just two people sitting on cold tile, realizing quietly, and almost too late, that they'd been losing each other one microscopic inch at a time. That moment should have brought us closer. Didn't. It just made the truth undeniable. We weren't fixing anything. We were delaying the collapse. For a few days after that scene in the bathroom, Mira tried to soften things. She offered to help with chores. She thanked me more often. She tried to sit closer to me on the couch. Hesitant inches, subtle attempts to bridge the growing canyon. But every move felt like someone trying to revive a plant they'd forgotten to water for months. Too little, too late. The roots were already gone. On Wednesday, she made dinner. A real dinner. Salmon, rice, roasted carrots the way I used to make them. I walked into the kitchen, surprised. You cooked? I asked. Yeah, she said, adjusting a pot even though it didn't need adjusting. I thought it would be nice. It is. She smiled timidly, a flicker of the woman I married. But the flicker didn't reach her eyes. There was fear buried there. Fear of losing me. Fear of the consequences of her own blueprint. During dinner, she tried to talk. Not performative questions, real attempts at connection. How was work? It was fine. Anything interesting happen? Not really. How's the Thompson project going? It's nearly complete. Each answer I gave made her shoulders drop a little more. She was trying. But I no longer had the instinct to reach back. She had trained me out of emotional spontaneity. Ironically, she had succeeded too well. On Thursday, something happened I will never forget. We were getting ready for bed, her in the master, me in the guest room as usual, and she lingered in the doorway, clutching the frame like it was the last stable thing in her life. Jonas? She said. I turned, toothbrush still in hand. Yeah. Her voice trembled. Do you still love me? Took me 3 seconds to respond. 3 seconds is an eternity when someone asks you that. Yes, I said finally, but it feels far away. She breathed out like she'd been punched. Can we fix this? I don't know, I said. I don't think a list can. She shook her head hard. I know. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what I was thinking. I just felt so helpless. I didn't know how to reach you anymore. That list wasn't reaching, I said quietly. It was controlling. She closed her eyes. I know that now. We stood there in silence. Two people who used to fall asleep tangled together, now separated by a hallway and a protocol. I miss you, she whispered. I used to miss you, I said. Now I mostly feel tired. Her face crumpled. That was the night I realized I had already emotionally checked out. You don't say things like that unless some door in your heart has already begun to close. Desperation does strange things to how a person behaves. Suddenly, Mira was dressing nicer around the house. She wore perfume again. She cooked more. She initiated small talk always too carefully, as if a wrong word might set me back. Once, she even brushed my hand when passing me something. Her eyes flicked up to see if I'd react. I didn't. I wasn't trying to punish her. I just felt nothing. It was like the emotional wiring that used to connect us had been severed. Not cut with a knife. More like worn through by friction and time. One evening, she curled up on the couch next to me. Actually next to me. Her thigh brushed mine. I froze. Not because I didn't want her there. Because I couldn't tell if this was her or a tactic. Is this okay? She asked softly. It should have been. With anyone else, it would have been. With the protocol, I said carefully. Physical contact is conditional. She flinched. I told you I regret the protocol. Yes, I said. But intimacy should be offered freely, not awarded after task completion. She swallowed hard. I wasn't thinking clearly. That's what scares me, I said. She didn't try touching me again for several days. The protocol died on a Tuesday. It was afternoon. I had just finished reorganizing a storage closet. She walked into the living room holding the paper, the original relationship proximity protocol. Her hands were shaking. She sat across from me. I'm ending this, she said. Okay. She blinked, startled by how nonchalant I sounded. This isn't working, she said. I thought it would help. I thought structure would make things easier. I thought if we had guidelines, we wouldn't drift apart. We drifted because you stopped letting me in, I said quietly. The list was just the proof. Tears welled in her eyes. That's not fair. It's honest, I said. You didn't want to talk. You wanted to control. You didn't want to reconnect. You wanted reassurance without vulnerability. She opened her mouth, closed it. I just needed certainty. You can't get certainty by drafting intimacy like a business plan, I said. She tore the paper in half. Then again. Pieces fluttered to the floor between us. She waited for me to react. I didn't. Say something, she whispered. I don't know what to say. Tell me we can fix this. I looked her in the eyes. Really looked. And I realized something devastating. Even if we removed the list, removed the rules, removed the metrics, we couldn't remove the damage they had revealed. I don't think we can, I said. She sobbed into her hands. I didn't move to comfort her. Not because I was cruel, but because I knew, if I touched her, we'd pretend everything was fine for another month or two. And the inevitable would only hurt more. Strangely, we didn't fight. Not once. We weren't yelling. We weren't blaming. We weren't dredging up old wounds. We were just done. There's a kind of ending that doesn't burn like fire. It freezes. And we were frozen solid. One night, she came into the guest room and sat at the foot of the bed. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. You already did, I whispered back. Her face crumpled again. She reached out, slowly like testing the waters, and touched my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't close my fingers around hers either. We stayed like that, her holding on, me not returning the gesture, until she understood what it meant. She let go first. It happened 2 days later. She stood in the doorway of the guest room, eyes red, hair messy, wearing a sweatshirt she always stole from me. "Jonas," she said, "we need to talk." I nodded. She sat on the edge of the bed. "I think," she inhaled sharply, "I think we need space." "Yeah," I said quietly, "I think so too." She wiped her eyes. "Do you want a separation?" "No," I said. Her eyes widened slightly. "You want to stay married?" "No," I said. "I want a divorce." It was the first time I'd said the word aloud. It didn't echo. It didn't sting. It didn't feel cold. It just felt true. She stared at me, broken open. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. "I know," I said. "But intention doesn't erase impact. I thought I was fighting for us." "You were fighting to get the version of me you wanted," I said. "Not the one who existed." She looked at her hands, trembling. "Did I ruin us?" "No," I said gently. "We ruined us. Together. You withdrew. I chased. You created structure. I complied. And in all of that, neither of us reached each other." Silence. "Then, will you ever forgive me?" she asked in a voice so small it barely existed. "I already did," I said. "But forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation." She nodded, tears streaming. "I still love you," she whispered. I swallowed. "I love who we used to be." She closed her eyes and broke down fully, then sobbed into her palms until her whole body shook. And for the first time in months, I let myself cry too. Not because I wanted her back, but because I finally mourned the marriage we had lost long before the list ever existed. The day I packed, the morning after our final conversation, the house felt like a museum of a life that had already ended. Every object felt like an artifact. The coffee mugs we bought on our honeymoon, the crooked picture frame from our old apartment, the blanket she used to steal from me during movie nights. Even the air felt like it belonged to a marriage that was already gone. I packed quietly, not hurried, not angry, just steady. Every folded shirt, every stacked book, every unplugged charger felt like a confirmation of something I already knew. I wasn't coming back. Mira watched from the doorway, not interfering, not pleading, just watching. Her face was swollen from crying. Her hair was unbrushed. There was a haunting calm about her, the calm of someone who finally stopped fighting reality. At one point she whispered, "Do you want help?" I shook my head. "No, it's okay." She nodded, biting her lip. I packed the last bag, zipped it up, and looked around the guest room. A room that had slowly replaced our bedroom long before either of us admitted it. I reached for the door. "Jonas?" she said softly. I turned. She looked like she was holding onto the doorframe to keep herself standing. "Can I hug you?" she whispered. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. 1,000 memories rushed up. Good ones, warm ones, the kind that hurt more than the bad ones ever could. "I think," I said gently, "if we do that, it will make this harder for both of us." She nodded slowly, tears welling again. "You're probably right." We stood there for another beat. Two people who used to be everything to each other, now strangers separated by a hallway. "I really did love you," she said. "I know," I said. "I loved you too." She swallowed hard. "Still do." I didn't answer. Some truths are kinder left unsaid. I picked up my bags, walked past her, and stepped out of the house that used to be ours. The door clicked shut behind me. It was the quietest sound I had ever heard. I moved into a small one-bedroom apartment across town. Peeling paint, a faint smell of old carpet, a view of the parking lot rather than the horizon. It wasn't home, but it was mine. That first night, I sat on the edge of the unfamiliar bed and listened to the silence. Real silence. Not the cold kind we shared at the end. Not the heavy silence between tense conversations. Not the strained silence of two people pretending. A clean silence. An honest one. But honesty can hurt just as much as pretense. I cried. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just soft, steady tears that felt like they'd been waiting months to fall. I wasn't crying for her. Not exactly. I was crying for the version of myself that stayed too long. For the version of her I kept hoping would return. For the marriage that had been dying long before we realized we were performing CPR on a ghost. Around midnight, the shadows on the ceiling finally blurred into sleep. And for the first time in months, I didn't dream about her. Separation isn't one moment. It's thousands of tiny ones. Updating your mailing address. Canceling joint streaming accounts. Dividing furniture, finances, memories. Every choice is a reminder of what's gone. I thought the paperwork would be the hardest part. I was wrong. It was the mornings. Waking up without her breathing beside me. Making breakfast in complete silence. Realizing no one cared whether my day would be long or short. Loneliness after marriage is strange. It isn't the loneliness of being alone. It's the loneliness of missing someone who still exists but can no longer be yours. Mira emailed me twice that first week. Not to beg. Not to fight. Just, "I hope you're okay." "I'm sorry again." I replied once. "Thank you." And nothing more. When someone has hurt you without malice, closure is quiet. Soft. Almost gentle. 3 weeks after I moved out, she called. Late. The kind of late where you know the call isn't casual. Her voice was thin. Hey, I just wanted to hear you," she whispered. I didn't know what to say. She wasn't calling to get back together. Or negotiate. Or plead. She was mourning too. "I passed the house today," she said. "Out of habit." "Yeah." It felt empty. I exhaled slowly. "So do I," I said before I could stop myself. She made a small sound. A mixture of apology, regret, and pain. "I'm going to therapy," she said quietly. "Real therapy. Not the stuff my friends used to send me. I'm trying to understand why I pushed you away." "That's good," I said softly. "I hope it helps." I wish. She stopped, voice cracking. I wish I could go back. You can't, I said gently. And neither can I. She didn't cry. Not this time. She just breathed. Okay, she whispered. We stayed on the phone for another minute without speaking. Then she said, good night, Jonas. Good night, Mira. That was the last time we ever spoke voice to voice. Healing didn't come as an epiphany. Came slowly, in morning walks, in cooking dinner for myself, in rediscovering hobbies I'd shelved to make room for her. It came in realizing I could take a deep breath in my apartment without feeling like I was inhaling grief. It came in sleeping through the night again. It came in the realization that letting go didn't mean the marriage failed. It meant we outgrew the shape of ourselves that once fit together. Some people meet young and weather every storm. Some drift apart like tectonic plates, no explosion, just distance. Some changes happen so slowly that by the time you notice the cracks, they're already canyons. And sometimes, letting someone go is the most honest love you can give them. About 6 months after the divorce finalized, I ran into Mira at a cafe. She looked different, calmer, softer. Her edges weren't sharpened by anxiety anymore. We made eye contact. We both froze. Then we walked toward each other slowly. Hi, she said. Hi, she smiled. A real one. You look good, she said. So do you. We stood there awkwardly for a second before she asked, are you happy? I thought about it. The apartment, the quiet, the mornings without dread, the nights without tension. Yes, I said. I am. She nodded, relieved. I'm happy for you, she said. And you? I asked. She hesitated, then smiled again. I'm working on it. That's enough, I said. We didn't sit down. We didn't exchange numbers. We didn't open old doors. We just wished each other well. Then we parted ways. I walked back to my car, the sun warm on my neck, the breeze soft around me. And for the first time in years, I felt something simple, something light, something true. Peace.
Thank you everyone for taking your time to listen to my stories that are posted in this channel. Your engagement and entertainment are a huge part of my motivation, and I hope you all will continue on supporting me in the future. Once again, thank you for watching my videos. For more content like this, please consider subscribing to my channel.